Well, hello there, and welcome to the candy wallpapered upstairs hallway of the dollhouse for another reading and quasi comprehensive commentary on The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. For January 23rd, the day of character. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of character. Well, we have us an image of, this one's kind of interesting. I don't know if it speaks the day of character, but here it is. Boom, it's an oversized coat hook, or a hook if you like, and an undersized hat, or perhaps vice versa. Regular sized hat, oversized hook. That being said, is that an adequate representation of the day of character? Hey, who's to say? But I like to let you know what I'm seeing on the page here. Kind of set the standard there, if you like. That having been said, visual representational image aside, what's important around here is wishing you a happy birthday. That's right. If it's your birthday, it's January 23rd, I just want to say happy birthday. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, as is often the case sometimes, I just hope you had a happy birthday. That's right. But for everybody else who's joining us randomly, or more ideally to celebrate the birthday, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to take a moment to do, and that is roll some dice. This is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake by rolling some dice. But I do so, more importantly, for synchronicity's sake. And here I rolled, if I could pick up the dice, a 6 and a 2 for an 8. Now, what is synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, my friends, a lot of the times as I hear it told, the universe, is apt to put things down in our path for us so we can realize our goals or manifest our aspirations. But a lot of times we got the blinders on. We're very narrow or laser focused in our life, kind of just going after the errands, if you like, or the commute to the job. So we see things, but we don't necessarily lend them a lot of concern. And so we're apt to miss those things the universe is putting down in our path. And so this is just a little bit of an exercise, if you like, to help you identify such signs. And how about a sign we can't help but notice? That's right, something we agree upon with the universe. Your daily numbers, that's right. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled for you, but it probably is ideal you take your own set of dice so you can ascribe directional values to number sets and time limits with which to go in those directions. That is, if you want to take part in this exercise. That's right. So dust off the old Yahtzee set, collecting dust in the closet there, and grab some dice. Now, that being said, if you want to do this exercise, pick a place out in the world that, I don't know, is near and dear to your heart, or perhaps one you've never been to. I don't know. Let's say the town square. Maybe you haven't made it downtown before. You're too busy. You just moved to a new place. Whatever the case may be. Once you get there, hey, like I said, get those blinders off, all right? Start taking in everything around you and soaking it up like a sponge. I'm saying everything here. I know that's a big ask, but I say this because the day might start to take on a little bit of a theme. Let's take the visual representational image, for instance. Small hats, big hats, small hooks, oversized hooks. Hey, you never know. Things might start to present. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but hey, you never know. You might start to see such things in advertisements on billboards, bus benches. I don't know, maybe people just carrying just weird stuff down the street as you pass them. You never know. So awkward hats, oversized hats. It could be vice versa, like I said. But hey, let's say that you get on this first leg of your journey and you don't see anything of note. Well, never fear, my friends. Just stop, take things in stride, and be observant. Like I said, maybe you just so happen to notice at the end of this first leg of your journey, boom, you're on 8th Avenue. The street sign says 8th Avenue, right? You know what? Take it as a sign you're on the right path. And roll yourself new values, all right? And then set off. Hey, maybe at this point, you find yourself, I don't know, maybe in front of a hat stall. That's right. Maybe somebody's selling counterfeit hats on the side of the street. Boom, there you go. Another example, you're on the right path. I know it's probably a little bit too on the nose, if you like. But, hey, once again, roll yourself another time limit. Maybe at this point, you find yourself in front of a building that's got, I don't know, maybe a 62 in the address. Hey, you know what? Just take it on faith. That's where you're supposed to be, all right? Maybe go into that building, see what you see. Again, maybe it's on the nose. Maybe it just so happens to be a hat shop or a fixture store. I don't know. They got brass fittings for everything. It could be a nice little mom and pop hardware outfit. I don't know, again, just take it on faith that the universe is telling you you're in the right spot. So maybe you go in there, the person behind the counter asks what they can do you for. Hey, you know what? You're not in the market for any fixtures today, but just tell them why you're there. Show them your dice, tell them, I'm here because of synchronicity. It's my birthday. And they go, really? What are you talking about? Show them this video, perhaps, to explain things so they know you're not crazy. That's right. Just it's me that's crazy, all right? Defer the blame, if you like. But what's interesting is sometimes you might just interest these individuals with what you're out there doing. And if it's a mom and pop outfit, hey, maybe they're just so apt to close the store for the day and join you. I often like to say maybe it's their birthday too, because you never know. Things, it's not all that strange that coincidences like that stack up. And that's why we're out here today, trying to stack up some coincidences or some synchronicities, if you like, so you can see, taste, touch, smell a little bit of the magic that the universe might put down in your path, if you're open for it. And hey, if this individual decides to join you, getting out in the world, trying to find some coincidences, synchronicities, all the better. And I say that because a lot of time it's been told to me that the more people that are focused on the same thing, you're apt to generate greater results. So that's right. Get out there, start stacking up some coincidences, noticing things that you might have otherwise been blind to or just didn't take note of. And enjoy your birthday, all right? At the very least, you're getting some steps in and some fresh air. That said, I think you get the idea, so let's dive in with the birthday read. That's why you're here. Your month is January, your day is the 23rd, your sign is 2 to 4 degrees Aquarius, of the Aquarius I period specifically, and your quality and element is fixed air. January 23rd, the day of character. Those born on January 23 have a remarkably distinct character, which sets them apart from everyone else. On the surface, this can manifest as an identifiable style, often exemplified by one particular quality such as their voice, movements, speech patterns, or facial mannerisms. Thus, while many of us may in fact be rich in character, January 23 people live it, are it, for all to see. And indeed, the habits they display can make a most memorable first impression. An important theme in the lives of January 23 people is the basis of character itself, integrity, moral, and ethical strength, to say. And those born on this day may not give the matter much thought, or perhaps even certain assumptions about their lack of character, but through crises and dire circumstances soon discover what they are made of. If they act in an honorable fashion, they can live with themselves, and if they will suffer deeply until they can clear their conscience or improve their self-image, such a vindication may perhaps only be effected through subsequent courageous and self-sacrificing acts. But fortunately, or unfortunately, as the case may be, it says in parentheticals, sticking to or betraying what they believe in youth may have a seminal or permanent effect on their personality formation and self-image when they are more mature. The word character has yet a third meaning when applied to January 23 people, as they may in fact be considered characters, that is, eccentric or oddball types. And it is possible that they will grow comfortable in such a role if it relieves them of the need to keep up appearances or be someone they are not. And those January 23 people less enamored of the social graces or conventional behavior may particularly encourage this perception. And because character and individualism are such important features in the lives of January 23 people, they may choose to study art, or rather, they may choose to study, act out, or just appreciate these qualities in others. And although those born on this day may believe in being natural, they realize more than most just how important role-playing is for the human being, and can become experts at assuming various personas at different points in their lives. And yet through all this play acting, their unmistakable personality always comes through loud and clear. And in this sense, they are very transparent individuals. And there is no denying a marked technical, mathematical, or scientific interest attendant to this day as well. And this side of January 23 people does not have to do with all people at all. It does not have to do with people at all, rather. Many born in this day have at least a cherished hobby, if not a profession, which is objective in its approach and can involve collecting, discovering, inventing, or the like. And it is not at all rather necessary that this technical side be related to their public role for their personal and spiritual development to take place. The two sides often remain quite separate. Those few people who do manage to make this connection, however, particularly when ethically grounded, can distinguish themselves in their professions with telling power and influence. Well, all right. Quite the focused birthday breakdown. But a lot of them this period have been. They kind of pick one particular quality and drill down and examine it from a very multitude of different angles and vantages. I don't know how well-rounded this one was. A lot of times some of these breakdowns will pick a particular characteristic like they did here today, but also incorporate a lot of well-rounded aspects to it. Say their family life, what they are like as parents, or what their childhood may have been like. And here they didn't necessarily branch out into that too much, though they did touch on your childhood there or how it might influence character and such. But that's why I say it was a rather narrowly focused birthday breakdown. That having been said, I might be getting ahead of myself. I'd like to provide a little bit of a commentary, if you like, and dive into the particulars of the day, things I found of interest, etc. So let's dive into it here. January 23rd, the day of character, in case you forgot. You have a remarkably distinctive character trait that sets you apart from others, all right? And not only can this be exemplified by a specific surface level characteristic exuded for effect, which leaves a lasting, memorable first impression, but the reading claims perhaps more importantly, it's personified in what constitutes your moral fiber, to say your integrity, if you like. And interestingly, also admirably, I like to argue, you're humble about as much, at least it seems. And you think it might not apply to say that much, but I think this seeming test that they provide, if that's in question, to say if you suffer crises of conscience when acting in dishonorable ways, or perhaps by my mind, you avoid those kinds of circumstances that would put you in the position of even making such choices, one way or the other, because, and perhaps without even necessarily realizing it, you don't want to be dishonorable. So I would say that little test that they put out there and my convoluted way of looking at it, I think that kind of is an interesting way of looking at whether or not you're kind of a person of integrity, if you like. Let's see here. You may also fit the bill here, I wrote, of another definition of character, to say being eccentric, all right, which I would argue somewhat follows in the vein of a memorable trait, to say that you leave a lasting first impression. But I think the facet of this role serving as a means to buck traditional conventions is probably what sets it apart and merits its own specific purposed mention. Might be why the reading's getting into it, because it is a little bit different than just leaving a lasting impression. So you might buck conventional trends or more conservative natures to that end. But to this end, role-playing is mentioned as something you may find value in for a variety of reasons. As a means of exercising individuality, a form of expression, and as a way to express or exercise natural qualities. And let's face it, it can be hard to convey it can be hard to convey such things if we're kind of being ourselves, right? Inside our own skin, if you like, as contradictory as it sounds. But it can be easier if you're just playing a character, kind of expressing yourself, because it takes ourselves out of our skin, if you like. So I totally understand this personality / transparent idea being related, even if somebody's acting in some kind of role that's not necessarily natural, or being yourself, if you like. The reading then also deviates to talk about technical and pragmatic capabilities and mentions a capacity to distinguish yourself in more utilitarian ways to help kind of round out this pretty laser focused breakdown. And that's after a long spate of such hyper-focused, subject-oriented breakdowns, like I said before. So I did write here that's a little refreshing that they added that facet into it to kind of round it out in a different way. But like I said previously, this Capricorn period that predated the Aquarius period, they really hyper-focused down on things to a fault almost. And the book did not usually make a habit of doing as much. So that's why I brought that up specifically. But in any event, that's been the breakdown, what I had to say about it. Hopefully there was something of interest in there. I kind of segued into thinking about that test of sorts in my own way, and hopefully it made a little bit of sense. No, it probably didn't. But that being said, let's move on to your numbers and your planets. That's right, your numbers and planets. Those born on the 23rd of the month are ruled by the number 5, as 2 plus 3 equals 5, and by the planet Mercury. And since Mercury represents quickness of thought as well as change, January 23 people may find themselves likely to both overreact mentally and try to change their minds and physical surroundings with great regularity. And particularly emphasized by the erratic nature of Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius. The combination of Mercury and Uranus grants a sharp mind combined with a real technical talent and an ability to be highly objective as well as an unusual manner of communication. The number 23 is associated with happening, and for January 23 people, this enhances their wish for interesting and sometimes dangerous experiences. All right, interesting. They don't often bring up numerology too much, even though it's kind of advertised in the book to no small part. But they threw it in there for you. But I might be getting ahead of myself here. Once again, let's get into the notes for your numbers and planets. All right, the number 5 and the planet Mercury for quickness of thought, change, and when coupled with Uranus, literal and mental penchants for change, but also a sharp mind, technical talent, and ability to be highly objective, and perhaps most unique, an unusual manner of communication. I don't think this one's come up before. So it's ostensibly the winged messenger of the gods with an erratic orbit, if you kind of take Mercury and Uranus into juxtaposition there. All told, mental overreaction sounds like the primary drawback here. But if you're highly objective, I can't imagine thoughts ever make it past past a fleeting consideration in your mind there, as far as manifesting those particular ideas is concerned. But as for the number 23, as I mentioned here, numerology is seldom drilled down on, but is said to enhance a penchant for excitement and sometimes dangerous experiences. But considering Mercury, you're also said to be folks who like puzzles and games, and considering Uranus's penchant to kind of shake up things, get one of the more electric planets in the astrology realm there, and it totally shakes up the dynamics of any particular planet it's kind of coupled to. I would say this might lend to that dynamic where you're attracted to danger or some more real-world type puzzles and games, if you like. Now, I know puzzles and games didn't come up in the birthday read here or in this particular entry, but it's in the back of the book. I found it pretty interesting when Mercury comes up, so I thought I'd relay it for you. Now, that having been said, that's been your numbers and planets and what I had to say about it. So let's move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. But hey, we don't have to take it home with us to start dealing out the cards. So let's just see what it has to say. Sometimes we can make further connections with things in the breakdown. Find something of interest. So let's dive into it. The 5th card of the major arcana is the Hierophant, an interpreter of sacred mysteries who is symbolic of human understanding and faith. His knowledge is esoteric, and he has an authority over things unseen. Favorable traits conferred by this card are self-assuredness and insight. But unfavorable traits include moralizing, bombast, and dogmatism. All right. This one was a total copy paste job. They didn't personalize it for you at all. But sometimes when they personalize the numbers and planets, it seems like the tarot is it kind of gets shortchanged. But typical through line here for that particular aspect there. But in any event, what did I have to say? Let's see if I can add something to it for you here. The Hierophant, or the priest in more conventional terms, an interpreter of sacred mysteries, as they said, also human understanding and faith, with favorable traits of self-assuredness and insight. And to that end, I would say it's a particularly apt card, not just from a self-assuredness and insight standpoint, considering the breakdown's relation of exercising character. All right, but also from a human understanding aspect as well. Not necessarily other humans per se, or more specifically, because that isn't really mentioned, but from the innate human understanding that you have of yourself, I would argue. And even if you don't necessarily realize it, okay? And that's assuming the breakdown applies. But I say that because if you're out there role-playing, kind of playing a part to kind of express yourself, there's this understanding that you have that that's what it takes to kind of exude your character, if you like. And maybe you can't pin down why you're doing it. It's just this need that you have to kind of do as much. And I would say, without you realizing it, that's an understanding you have of the human animal, if you like, even if it's just yourself there. And some people can't bring themselves to do those kinds of things or be that kind of character, so I would say that something they don't, in a manner of speaking. But in any event, that's kind of where I drill down on it from. So that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right, your health. Those born on January 23 usually show some resistance to normal health procedures, as they have their own personal way of dealing with disease or body difficulties. When suffering illness, January 23 people must be particularly careful about making self-fulfilling prophecies or assuming that they have explored all the health options on their own. Their expectations can also influence the health of their family and friends. And usually those born on this day have a strong food likes and dislikes, which are deeply ingrained. And as far as exercise is concerned, they may be incorrigibly negligent or equally well fanatic at various points in their lives, finding it difficult to keep a moderate regimen. Those born on this day can benefit from staying open to advice regarding their health, exercise, and lifestyle while expanding their dietary horizons. All right, that last bit, they don't typically throw on a little bit of a culmination of the entry, if you like. Not in the health regard, anyhow. So what I have to say. Resistance to normal health procedures, considering a personal way of dealing with health issues. So perhaps your innate self-assurance works against you in this particular circumstance. At least in no small part there, perhaps. But we have, what I write here, with another zodiac period, this happened to be the case. It was kind of chocked full of what you might call Christian scientists, I guess. They kind of leave it up to God to do these things. They just don't necessarily trust doctors, too. It was kind of interesting that there was like a whole period where that was the case. It kept coming up. So you're not alone in that particular characterization there. Though I would say it is a little bit different from the last period, where if the health matters were kind of ignored, it was because they were too focused on other things. It wasn't because they had a distrust in the people who could provide such things for them. But that being said, maybe take note of as much. Don't let yourself be your own beast of burden, I guess. That's probably saying that wrong, but help yourself by lending a little bit of consideration to the fact that you might not know everything about your own health. I guess that's what I have to say about it. Don't be such a character, if you like. Then expansion of your diet outside your likes and dislikes is about all they had to say for your diet. And so it doesn't really say much, unfortunately. But they also said that a moderate exercise regimen is also only kind of hinted at here. So a rather weird health entry to that extent, as they don't really suggest anything. And typically they do. They'll drill down very specifically on what you should get. So it's not normal in those regards either. That having been said, with Aquarius, your body area is said to be the circulatory system, and the same was said of the Capricorn period. So one thing that they would drill down on is kind of cutting out cholesterol out of your diet to take care of the veins and such, and they would focus on cutting out dairy fats as well as animal fats. So maybe take that under advisement. There's another Aquarius day that came up, and they were talking about how Alzheimer's might be an issue, and how to take toxic elements out of your diet, and as well as be mindful of keeping your mental faculties in shape by doing things that would exercise as much. And I don't know if that applies here or just that particular day in general, but hey, it can't hurt, right? Also, exercise. Like I said, they don't really drill down on it for you. But hey, just try to do what you can, I would say. Be mindful of as much. Again, what did they say? They benefit from being open to advice in those regards. So just be smart about it. Be a little bit of a character. Get your heart rate up a little bit. Take care of yourself. They also said, I also read in other places that you got to be mindful of stroke, considering the circulatory system. So I don't know, maybe get yourself a set of compression socks. I don't know. That's hey, something to be mindful of. So that's been your health. Let's move on to some advice. All right, some advice. Put your technical skills to work. Act honorably, but don't be fanatical in your expectations of yourself and others. Enjoy fitting in once in a while. All right. Quick and to the point with this one. The advice is oftentimes very sparse, but here it was particularly sparse. But I wrote quite a bit nonetheless, so let's see what I had to say here. Bear with me, I had to write it real tiny to fit everything. They said, put your skills to work. All right. They mentioned your way of acting being separate from your talents. But those who incorporate their innate abilities to an end, distinguishing themselves. That's what kind of the idea I got from it. So I would say don't neglect the value in something that seems innocuous or throwaway. All right, it may be the key to a success that's unknown to you at this point, but it might be infinitely fulfilling. So you know what? Just keep going after things, and don't necessarily discount them if they don't seem like they have any value, because they just might. All right. I don't know what that has to do with putting your technical skills to work, but you know what? Put your technical skills to work, and you might be surprised at the outcome. Another way of putting it there. I just went a little bit too into the weeds with it. All right. What else do they have to say? They said act honorably, but don't be fanatical. And I had to say, you can hold yourself to and others to high standards, but it may be overkill. And not to mention, honor is seldom ever a easy prospect, even in its basic forms. So don't be too, dogmatic about it. They warn about that in the tarot. And they also talked about moralizing and bombast. Yeah, don't be preaching to folks or hold them to high standards. That's right. At least even the people that would hold other folks to high standards or their own standards, they have to be willing to admit that some folks might not be of the capacity to do as much. So I said maybe lend credence to the fact that they're at least trying, but maybe your standards are beyond their capacity. It's the people who have the capacity but aren't doing as much. Maybe those are the people whose feet you hold to the fire. So, in any event, I didn't write any of that. I was just going off a past relation of something similar. So, what else do we have here? Enjoy fitting in. Being a character can be a mask of the truer self, if you like. It could also be said to separate someone from the herd. At least I would assume. Also takes work to be a character. So, neither of which need to be done all the time, I think is kind of the point I'm getting. More and more these days, people tell me specifically to drop the character and be myself. Well, being a character feels just like that, being myself, right? It's kind of part of who I am. Perhaps people just don't want to see that all the time. All right, something that's inauthentic or false about it to some people, even if it's seemingly to me some kind of truth. Maybe. I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic there to be told. Interesting dichotomy of contrasting elements, if you like. But, just be yourself, and if playing a role is part of that, hey, do it. That's what I have to say about it. All right, there's your advice. And with your advice having been relayed, let's move on to your meditation. That's right. It's your birthday. You get a meditation. All right. Makeup generally looks best when unnoticed. Oh, I like this one. I like this one for you. All right, once more. Makeup generally looks best when unnoticed. All right, I could take this one to heart myself. In any event, that's your birthday. It's your birthday. That's your meditation. I don't want to throw some spin or interpretation on it for you, so I'm not going to dive into what I think it means. So that's just for you. But your meditation in the can, as it were. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror and see where you got the girth or the bulk, if you like, and where you otherwise a little more atrophy. That's right. Your strengths and weaknesses. Your strengths, your personal, your individual, and your technical. All right, interesting. But your weaknesses, let's hold up that objective mirror, but flip it to the side that blows up your face. That's right, and shows off the things you might be otherwise, a little bit insecure about. Those superficial things there. That's right, your weaknesses. You're self-involved, asocial, and you're troubled. Interesting. I don't know that I picked up on troubled so much. Hey, it happens. It happens. We all got some troubles, right? That being said, oftentimes I like to argue that your strengths and weaknesses can trade back and forth here, because I've seen it in the book. Some days impulsive. I remember impulsive specifically. It was a strength for one individual. The next day it was a weakness. But you know what? It just depends on the situation, I would argue. Your weaknesses of being self-involved, asocial, and troubled. Hey, you know what? Sometimes I would say those might just be a strength. If you're self-involved and asocial in certain circumstances, maybe there's some individuals around you that you don't want to be involved with, and maybe they're more of a bad element. And coming off self-involved and asocial, well, hey, maybe they just don't want anything to do with you in those regards. So you're holding up a little bit of that honor, I would say, keeping yourself out of the trouble. So there's a strength with one of your weaknesses. But that having been said, a lot of times I like to argue if your weaknesses are something you want to improve upon, I think your strengths are going to help you do it. Your personal, individual, and technical. Hey, you got the skills to get into the weeds, add that nice little personal touch to it, build up yourself to get after improving upon as much, I would say, and you're going to add your own spin to it if you're an individual. All right, not the best case or argument I have for as much, but I think it still stands. But that having been said, I also like to say don't get rid of your weaknesses altogether, because they make you part of who you are. So, in any event, that's been your strengths and your weaknesses. So let's move on to those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, something I like to do is not only see who shares your company, but look at it through the prism of trying to figure out our passions. Because too often I get out in the world and meet individuals, ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. And I think it's huge that we're chasing after things that just drive us, because we only have so much time on this earth, right? So we should be, I don't know if we should be, but it would be ideal that we're doing something that we enjoy and get personal fulfillment from. That's right, making the most of these days and hours that we've got here. But all too often, folks that get out of school right into a job to make ends meet, and it might have nothing to do with what they like. And at the end of the week, they've got no time to put any kind of energy into figuring out what they like or what their passions are. And so who can blame individuals? It takes time and effort to carve out an idea about those things sometimes. So I think this is the perfect opportunity to, like I said, not only see who shares your company, but what they did to get in the book, and maybe we can take a little bit of inspiration to fuel our own respective fires. Because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're jumping out of bed in the morning, eager to get on with your day, chase after the things you find fulfilling. So let's get into it here. And I don't often peek at the individuals born on this day. I don't know why I did today, but I noticed I can't pronounce many of these names, so bear with me here. All right, we start off with Humphrey Bogart, the film actor icon, and fought McCarthyism, it says. We also have Edouard Manet, a French painter. Stendhal, it says perhaps a pen name if you like, because it also has the name Marie Henry Bale here, a French novelist of The Red and the Black. We also have Django Reinhardt, a gypsy jazz guitarist, Janine Moreau, French film actress, Kid Ory, an early New Orleans jazz trombonist and a band leader. And we also have John Hancock, Declaration of Independence signer, also a Massachusetts governor, and a Colonial Congress representative. We have George Baselitz, a German New Wild painter. Never heard of that one. Chita Rivera, stage actress, singer, dancer, famous for The West Side Story, the original Anita, apparently. We also have Rutger Hauer, a Dutch film actor, Gary Burton, a jazz vibraphonist, a composer and a band leader, Princess Carolyn of Monaco, Hideki Yukawa, a Nobel Prize-winning nuclear physicist, says he's responsible for, I'm assuming, the discovery of the meson. Rudolph Scott, a cowboy film actor. John C. Polanyi, a Canadian Nobel Prize-winning chemist, responsible for chemiluminescence, it says. Edward Stone, a physicist, a chief scientist on the Voyager project. We also have Frances Doran, French actress, playwright, novelist, responsible for Les Yupes Collodies, perhaps. Also a TV presenter and a songwriter. We also have William F. Fallon, a New York criminal lawyer, and 3 movies on his flamboyant career, it says. William F. Fallon, again, if you were interested. Sir Arthur Lewis, a British Nobel Prize-winning economist, and Anita Pointer, a singer of the Pointer Sisters there. Wow, I don't think I butchered as many names as I thought I would. But that being said, I butchered a couple there. I know there's at least one Japanese name in there. So let's make up for it on my side of things by butchering. Don't do it in malice. It's just hooked on phonics doesn't often work for me with names and words, as you could tell. The larger college words there. In any event, that essentially rounds out your birthday read. I know it's a big-ass, tall order to try and take inspiration from other people's accomplishments. But hey, maybe me just putting the bug in your ear help you start rekindling those fires, or providing the spark if you hadn't done as much before. Because like I said, if there's anything I can wish you on your birthday, it's that you're chasing after a passion, something you find fulfilling. But once again, like I said, that essentially rounds out your birthday read. Except to say your season is winter, your sign once again is Aquarius, of the Aquarius I period specifically, and your quality and element is fixed air. And this has been January 23rd, the day of character, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy, diving in further for yourself. It makes an excellent coffee table book if you're ever hosting a party and you just have difficulty maybe getting the party started. I know you're a character, but maybe sometimes you don't want to do the work. Let the book do the heavy lifting there and get the conversation started, for better or for worse. But that having been said, the book related, not altogether all too important here. Not in the scheme of things. And what is the scheme of things? Well, like I said at the top, it's your birthday. So what's important around here? Once more, wishing you a happy birthday. So happy birthday. But for everybody else who joined us randomly or here to celebrate, I just want to say I hope you enjoyed yourselves and you join us for your birthday read. All right. I just want to thank you for the pleasure of your time. It's been a privilege to share your birthday with you. So thank you. And you know what? Once again, happy birthday. All right. Keep being a character, but, maybe do some self-analysis as to whether or not you need to do so in certain circumstances. I know sometimes I have to do that little bit of analysis myself and should probably do so a little more often now. But that being said, the less I forget. That's right. I almost forgot. Boom, your daily numbers. All right, get out there, let the universe show you it's with you on your path. And if you see, taste, touch, smell, intuit a little bit of the magic that I brought up, the coincidences and the synchronicities, hey, you're going to understand why I brought it up in the first place. And it sounds like you need to get your steps in because the book couldn't relate what kind of exercise is important for you. So yeah, there's some bare minimum there. Getting some steps in with your compression socks there. That's right. In any event, once again, happy birthday. Take care of yourselves.